Hello everyone, my name is Nathan Lafort from the Lighthouse Vision Loss Education Center in Sarasota, Florida. This will be the first in a series of videos explaining electronic magnifiers available for purchase in our Peepers low vision store, and we will begin. The first device we're going to cover is going to be this Eschenbach SmartLux digital magnifier. This is a 5-inch screen magnifier capable of 4 magnification settings, 5 contrast settings, able to store 20 different images. It has a battery life of 3 hours depending on the settings and a charging time of around 2. The weight of the device is about 7.76 ounces, and for those who don't know what that means, about the weight of an average Big Mac. The physical features of the device are very simple. The device is made to be one of the more simple devices that Eschenbach produces. On the face of the device, you have a digital LCD display. You have 4 buttons. If you are right-handed, you would hold it so that the buttons will be underneath your right thumb and the display will be on the left. If you're left-handed, you're going to rotate it around and your buttons will be underneath your left-hand thumb. Most of this video I will describe in a right-handed fashion. I apologize to all the lefties out there, but that's just how we're going to do it. Starting on the right, you have your power button. It is the only circular button that's on the face of the SmartLux. To the left of that, you have a column of 3 different buttons. Each button is square. It is about the same shape and size as all other buttons. However, they are each colored differently and each button has a different tactile icon on it. If you can feel the differences in the icons, that would be great, but the button position is really going to be what helps you separate them out. To the left of that, again, you have the LCD display. If you are holding the button or the device in the right-handed fashion, your pointer finger is going to be on the top, and if you feel there should be a hole on the top, that is the power port. That is where you will plug in the power cord, which will then plug into the wall. Underneath your fingers as they wrap around on the right-hand side, you're going to feel a door, which is to replace the battery. This is a rechargeable battery though. You do not need to go in there, unscrew the cover and take the battery out. That's simply how the repairs will be made. If you need to repair the device, please call Eschenbach and have them tell you what to do. On the right side, you can also have a port for, underneath your fingers, it'll be a port for a lanyard. If you flip the device around so that the display is on the bottom, you will feel 2 legs that stick up. They arch up out of the back, and those are for the stand. The stand swivels around as it opens and closes. If you were opening the stand, you would just pinch those stand legs and they would pull out. 1 click would be for writing mode and the other click would be for the reading mode. You can do both with this device. Underneath the top stand leg close to the power port, you will have a circular button on the back of the SmartLux. This is the only other circular button and only other button. So there are 5 total buttons. This is the 5th button. It is the only one on the back. If you press this, this is the reset button to reset to factory settings. If you move your finger down, you'll find a depression and a matching circular depression to the left of that, all the way to the edge. Those are your LEDs. They go down into the device. In between both LEDs, you'll see an extended, it looks like a black dot that comes out of the device back. It is your camera. The camera's black, a black circle, and the 2 depressed circles are the LEDs. They're yellow. And now we're going to get into just some of the basic functions of the device. This video will cover basic and advanced functions, but we'll do the basic one first. For most users, they're going to get off this train at that point. And then for those who want to learn more of the advanced functions, we'll keep going. So to turn the power on and off, you're simply going to press the circular power button for about 2 seconds. The display will visually light up, and at the top you will see what the previous settings were. The power, how magnified, what the magnification setting was, and the brightness. They'll go away after a few seconds. To turn it off, you're going to press and hold that power button again until you see the Eschenbach display, and then the screen goes black. So I'm going to turn it on again just so we can see those icons. 1, 2. The icons will pop up. And whatever the last setting was when you turn this device off, those are the settings that will be on the SmartLux when you turn it back on. So if you have manipulated some things, magnified, it will be set at what you left it at. The lights will normally be on in the back, so try not to turn this on with the back facing you, or you're just going to blow those LEDs right into your eyes. Okay. The next button we have is the top. Again, as in right-handed user, you're going to have the top button, which will be the blue camera button, or the photo button. This will allow you to take photos. All you will do is press and release that photo button, and let me adjust this picture. I'm trying to take a picture in the back. So all you'll do is press and release that camera button, and you'll take a picture of whatever it is that you're looking at. This is the perfect feature for taking photos of things that may be higher. Say you're at a grocery store and there is a price up high on a higher shelf. You can lift the SmartLux up there, take a picture of the price, bring it down, and then magnify it. If a lot of other people will take photos of button configurations, say on microwaves, if they can see the buttons, but they cannot read the buttons, they'll just put the SmartLux up to it, take a photo, and that way they don't have to move their head by the photo. If they, depending on the angle or whatever, you don't have to move your head over there to see it. You can take a quick picture, bring it back to you, and comfortably view what it is you were looking at. You can also magnify and change the contrast of those photos after you've taken them. So that's another nice feature. But to get the photo off, you would simply press that button again, top button, and it would just go away. The next button that we have is going to be the center button in those three. That is the magnification button. There are 4 settings, and each time you press one of the buttons, you will zoom in until you get to the max setting. The settings are 5x, 7, 9x, and 12x. Once you get to 12x, you press it again and it will zoom all the way back down to 5. And so you'll just cycle through those settings. If you want to change the contrast, if you see better in different light spectrums, or you have a need to use different lighted options, the contrast button at the bottom will allow you to change that. And again, there are 5 settings. You have the regular setting where you see in exactly what the camera is looking through. You'll have a high contrast setting, or this one is the inverted setting, so we'll invert the colors. You'll have a yellow on black setting and a black on yellow. And then you cycle back to the original color. So each one of these can be manipulated by just pressing the button and letting it go. So you can change the magnification, you can change the contrast, and you can take photos. Whatever you change will be saved when you turn the device off and back on again. If you need to use this device and it is dirty, you can take a simple, soft, dry cloth to clean the face of this off, or the sides and edges and back. If there's a little bit more soil on the device, you want to make sure you can wet down that cloth just a little bit, make it damp but not oversaturated with water, just plain water, and then you can wipe off all of that, whatever's on there. It is not waterproof, so you don't want to use any type of harsh cleaning agents. You don't want to saturate it. You're not throwing this thing in the sink or taking it in the shower with you. Just make sure that you're using this in a dry area and not using those harsh cleaners or too much water, or it will break on you. So that is the basic functions of the SmartLux. If you would like, and those are all the functions you need, you can stop here. If you want to keep going, we're going to move on to the more advanced functions, and then you'll learn how to do some of the more complicated procedures, all using the same buttons, but most people may not need to use these. So if you don't want to watch, you don't have to. So the advanced features start with the bottom button here. We're going to talk about the contrast button. As we discussed, the LED lights turned on immediately upon use of the device. When I turned it on, the LEDs came in the back. There will be times when those LEDs are too bright. Say you are looking at a glossy image, or you're at a restaurant and you have a menu that's glossy. It's got a laminated cover. That gloss may reflect back the LED image and it just be too bright and washed out. You can turn those LEDs off by pressing and holding the contrast button for about 2 to 3 seconds. 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000. You'll see an icon pop up. It'll look like a light bulb with a little X through it, and it will let you know that the LED lights have turned off, but you'll also know because the LED lights will have turned off. Simple enough. So if you want to turn them back on, you'll hold the contrast button at the bottom again to turn them back on. 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000. The lights will turn on and you'll have an icon of the light bulb with no X this time. If the device is too bright, you can adjust the brightness settings. The reason for the brightness settings can be any number of things. If you are in a darker room, you want to turn the brightness down so that you don't wash your eyes out. You're looking at a bright display on here, and then you look up, and then now you have to adjust for the darkness of the room. Or if you're outside, you want to have a high brightness setting to compete with the sun that might be outside. So you want to be able to change that. This center button here is going to be your brightness setting. So the center button is the magnification button if you just press and release. If you press and hold, you will cycle through those brightness settings. So I'll press and hold, and I should be at the 50% setting. If I keep holding, it will go up to the 100%. If I keep holding, it will go down to 75 and eventually end up at the 50% setting. So each one of these settings is not incredibly different from each other. It's just a slight change, even though it says 100 and 50 and 75. It's not an incredible difference in brightness, but it can make a lot of difference depending on what you're doing. There are only the 3 brightness settings, so you can't turn the brightness down to 0 because then you would just turn it off. So you have 100%, 75%, and 50. The factory setting is 50%. So you will always be at 50% if you touch nothing. The last advanced feature we're going to cover is kind of a series of features, if you will. The SmartLux can hold up to 20 images inside its memory. Those 20 images can be cycled through. You can save more, you can delete images as you want to. So some of these images you want to save for a while, others you may want to delete. While it's not a camera that you would take family photos with, there are certain things you could take, like those displays. If you have a microwave or something that you want to take a picture of and save that photo and refer to it later every time you need to use it, or something you don't use all that often, you want to save the photo so that way when you go back to it, you can know what it is without having to bend down and take a picture or go around. This is the perfect setting. So let's talk about taking the photo. First things first, we talked about taking the photo. It was easy enough. We just press the photo button. It is on the top. You press and release. Okay. The photo will be stored here for the immediate time being. It's not actually saved in the camera yet. To save the photo, you're going to press and hold the photo button. Once you save the photo, you'll find out how many photos are saved. You'll find out what the settings of the photo, the stock settings are, meaning the contrast and the magnification options. So that will disappear off of the right side of the display after a few seconds. You can pull it up again, but now we've saved this photo. It's stored in here. To go back to our live feed, we again just press that photo button and we're back. If we want to refer to that photo or any of the photos that we've saved, now that we're in live feed, instead of taking the picture and then saving it, we're just going to go to our saved photos by holding that photo button. 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000. Now we can cycle through our saved photos, and we should have our display of what those are. Again, it turns off after a couple seconds. We can adjust this photo however we want, just like we were able to do before. We can magnify it. We can change the contrast or color options, or we can put it back to what we had. If you had more than one photo, you can cycle through those photos by pressing and holding. So I'm going to go ahead and take another photo. I'm going to get some writing here. Okay, so I've got two. I'm going to press and hold the photo button so that I can save this. And now I should have two photos. In order to cycle through those, I'll go back to the live setting, press and hold the photo button. Now I'm on the last photo I took. If I want to keep going, I'll press and hold the photo button again, and it should cycle to the next one. If you have multiple photos, 20, if you have 10, just keep holding the photo button and it will continue to cycle through all of them. You'll just let your finger up when you get to the one you want. Okay. And so when you let your finger up, it'll stop and you'll be on your photo and you can do whatever you want. Say you would like to delete this image. You no longer need it. Say you moved or for whatever reason, you just no longer need to have this stored, or maybe you're just clearing it out. What you're going to do is you're going to go to your saved images. You'll select the one you want, like we already have, and then you'll press and hold the contrast button. The contrast button at the bottom for 3 seconds, and you should have a display pop up on the right. You have a giant trash can that pops up that takes up a majority of the screen, but after a few seconds, if you do nothing, it will disappear. So again, I'll press and hold the contrast button. If I press any other key at this point, it will cancel the process. That's made on purpose. The timeout is also made on purpose. It's assuming you pressed and held the contrast as a mistake. So it always assumes you're making a mistake just so you don't lose your photo on accident. To actually delete it, you'll press and hold, you'll get your trash can image, and then you'll press the contrast button again. And I'm going to clear it out. I'm going to get rid of all the photos. I'll press and hold, and then I will press the contrast button again. Once you are done getting rid of all photos, it will go back to your live feed mode. Okay. The last option that we had is the reset button, and I'll show you how to do that. First, I'm going to turn my LED off by pressing and holding the contrast button again, because I don't want to shine that light in my face. And this will let us know. If I turn the device off right now and back on, I should not have LEDs on. But I'm going to set it to factory settings. by pressing and holding this reset button. It shouldn't take any time at all. And then it turns the device off, and I'm back to factory settings. I'll have to turn it back on again by holding the power button, and now I should be back. Everything should be back to whatever the setting was, and we are all set to go. You do not have to do the reset unless the whole SmartLux is not responding. None of the buttons are responding, nothing you're doing is responding. So you would hit the reset button and it would do that. The only other thing I want to show you is the stand and how you would use it to write. Again, whether or not you're right or left-handed makes a big difference, but when you pull the stand out on the back, the first click sets it to writing mode. What this will do is elevate the camera so it will be at an angle, and all I would do is whatever I'm doing is I can hold my finger down or my pen down and I could use it to write. I'm going to be writing at an angle, so I would have to move the SmartLux along with my hand as I write, but at least I'd be able to see it on there. It does take some getting used to, and it's a lot of practice, but it's definitely worth it if you're wanting to write checks, sign anything, you'll be able to use it to do that. If you're in reading mode, you would just flip that stand all the way out and you just lay the SmartLux on top of your paper and read. That is the SmartLux by Eschenbach. It has only 5 buttons. Each button has a basic and advanced function. It is not touchscreen, 5 inches, very light, very maneuverable. If you would like, you can also purchase a rubber cover for it. Those we also sell at Peepers. If not, you can use it just as it is, and it will work very well for you. Now, if you have this device and you have any additional questions, you can always call the Lighthouse Vision Loss Education Center here in Sarasota, Florida. But thank you again. I will see you next time.